This special national security dialogue, and it's to highlight an important issue. We have a solid team packed here today, and we'll talk about youth unemployment. Almost like how the coronavirus has changed the world, 9/11 changed many things. The attacks and the war on terror that followed also changed a lot of things. But the measurable effect on indicators such as jobs, travel and stocks was mostly temporary. It extended beyond geopolitics into society and culture in general. How have we in Ghana learned from the horrific events? In our part of the world, we know of piracy, and we know that it's usually in our part of the world, we know of piracy, and we know that it is linked directly with youth unemployment. So today we have an array of guests in our studio to discuss whether youth unemployment is a threat to Ghana's security or an opportunity. And that's what we are here to do today on this special dialogue, the National Security Dialogue. Without much ado, I'll invite a pastor to come and give us the opening prayer. He's Pastor Joshua Day. Please join me at the podium for the opening prayer. Assistant Head Pastor, Christian Reflection Perfection Ministries, and Assistant Studio Manager here at GBC News.
Let's bow down our heads as we pray. Father God, in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Son of the living God, we thank you for this opportunity. We thank you for giving us life and health. Divine God, you have given mankind the opportunity to produce, to expand. My Lord, as we do this, your word says, he who will not work shouldn't eat. Because your people will eat, they need to work. My Lord and my God, as a responsible country, we have gathered once again to deliberate about work. Lord God, the creator of money and work before human beings, we pray today that anybody who stand up or sit to talk to the nation, my Lord, Holy Spirit, speak through the person. I pray that you give us the guidance, the controls, the ideas, the knowledge, the empowerment, health, and everything that we need. Lord, that at the end of the day, your name will be glorified. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Joshua. GBC is partnered by the West Africa Center for Counter-Extremism, and to bring you this program, we are also supported by a host of other ministries and agencies, key among them being the Ministry of Youth and Sport. We are also partnered by the National Security and also the U.S. Embassy in Ghana. The Minister for Youth and Sport has joined us for this program. He came in quite early. We'll break protocol at this time. This is where we would usually invite someone to give us a welcome address to tell us exactly why we are here, even though I have dropped a few hints in the introduction. But the Minister has an urgent meeting to attend. So at this point, with your indulgence, Director General, I'd like to invite the Honorable Minister for Youth and Sports to give us his remarks so that he may be permitted to take leave of us to attend that important national assignment. Ladies and gentlemen, with a round of applause, help me welcome the very patient Minister for Youth and Sport, the Honorable Mustafa Yusuf. Sir.
Madam Chair, thank you so much for the opportunity. First of all, I'd like to thank the organizers of this program, and that is the GBC and also the West Africa Center for Counter-Extremism for the invitation for this dialogue, especially on the youth unemployment and the extremism that is a threat currently posing us. It is an opportune time for us to discuss these issues because of my previous life, where I used to work at National Service. I had a real first-hand experience about the challenges and the strength of our youth. Having worked there for the past 4 years, and the number of graduates that passed through national service and passed through my hands for the past 4 years, I know the challenges and their strength, and it is an opportunity for me to be able to also participate in this dialogue and also share my experience at the national service, and also now given the opportunity as the Minister for Youth and Sports, what measures we are putting in place to ensure that we give opportunity to the youth of our country to be able to contribute to the development of our country and contribute to our GDP. At the ministry, our mandate, as we are all aware, is to initiate and also formulate policies taking into consideration the needs of our youth. And government have done series of those initiatives in the past, and currently we are also working. Basically, ours is to train, mold, and nurture, and also guide our youth of our country so that we create the necessary platform for them. And when we talk of youth unemployment, it's a fact, and it's a real. Like I said at national service, for the past 4 years that I've been there, year in, year out, we graduate those who come from the universities and the training institutions are more than 200,000, and the 200,000 graduates going through national service yearly. So if you are talking of 4 years of my stay at national service, then you are talking about 800,000 graduates in the 4 years that I stayed at national service, and that's a huge. And if you look at the current disparity between the population growth and also vis-a-vis the economic growth, you should know that there is huge challenge to us as a country, as whether these graduates coming out of the university will be able to secure jobs within the economy that is going lower than the population growth. And as a executive director then at the national service, it was a huge challenge for me. And I started engaging the various youth agencies, the National Youth Authority. Then, luckily for me, I was a board member there, the Youth Employment Agency, and also CODVET, that is also focused on technical and vocational education. And also even the funding institutions like MASLOC, and also the training institution like National Board for Small Scale Industry, and also training institutions like the TVET institutions, all in effort to be able to bring all the youth agencies together to see how to address the challenges confronting our youth when it comes to unemployment. And let me make it clear, it's not like Ghana, there are no opportunities for the youth for them to be able to take up jobs. The challenge that we have is that we have various youth agencies scattered, and it is important for these youth agencies for us to work together to coordinate. And now that I've been given the opportunity as the Minister for Youth and Sports, I've started that engagement again, so that we'll be able to coordinate all these initiatives so that the youth of our country, those in Akanduri and those in Yagaba Kubore, those in Sandema, will be able to know the various opportunities that are available to them so that they can take those opportunities. If you take the Sahel region, the major challenge that I've identified, and it is one of the areas that we are supposed to be dialoguing today. The major challenge that I've identified is that majority of our people within the Northern Territory and their preoccupation is farming. And I can talk of about 90% of our people are into farming. If you take the 5 northern regions. And these farmings, and we all know that it is only one season. So in a whole year, we are talking of just 4 months active activities, economic activities within the 4 month year. But they then have a whole 8 months idling. And the youth, once they are idling and they are not doing anything, then they are prone to be able to be attracted to extremism or even violent, political, religious, and also chieftaincy. And that is why mostly we get most of them during the lean season, migrating to urban cities like Accra, and they keep on coming. Government have taken initiative, and we've put in a lot of initiative, and many of them, and as a result of my engagement initially in 2017, the Nation Builders Corps initiative was introduced as a short-term measure because if you are talking about 800,000 graduates in the last 4 years, and only there is a research that shows that only 10% of these graduates are able to secure a job 1 year after national survey, and it takes as long as 10 years for most of these youth to be able to secure a job, then it is a challenge, and government needed to react. And the reaction was to ensure that at least we have a policy direction where we have short-term measure, medium-term, and also long-term. And we are collaborating with the National Youth Authority, of which the agency and the National YEA, and also CODVET, National Board for Small Scale Industry, and also even the ministry, because most of these ministries that we have also have their own youth initiatives. For example, the Ministry of Food and Agriculture have Youth in Agriculture initiative. If we don't collaborate, you see that we'll be having duplications of youth initiative, and this duplication is not helpful to our country. It is important that we focus and be able to work together and be able to give those opportunities and let the youth of our country know. Luckily for us, Your Excellency and Madam Chair, Ghana have opportunity of hosting the Youth Connect Africa, and the Youth Connect Africa was launched in 2017 by His Excellency Paul Kagame in Rwanda, and Ghana had opportunity of participating. And the second edition was also in 2018, and the third edition was 2019, where over 12,000 youth of Africa converged. Then the purpose of the Youth Connect, Madam Chair, is to bring the youth of Africa together to be able to network and also strike partnership, not just come and network and go, but be able to have partnership. And the whole idea is that nothing stops a young graduate from UDS in Tamale having a business and be able to partner somebody in Rwanda or Nigeria or any other African country, so that the market is wide. And luckily for us, we now have the Africa Free Continental Trade Area headquarters located here in Ghana. It is a huge opportunity for us as a country to be able to take. And for the information of the majority of people listening to us and the youth of Ghana listening to us, Ghana have opportunity as the only country apart from Rwanda to host this year African Youth Connect. And we are doing so with the UNDP. And it is coming off on the 20th to 22nd. And we'll be bringing over 2,000 youth of Africa physically. And also virtually, we are thinking of getting, because it's a hybrid summit that we are organizing. And we are thinking of having over 1 million African youth also joining us virtually. The whole idea is to link up the youth of our country to the various opportunities that we have in Ghana, i.e., what are the source of funding for the youth if they want to go into entrepreneurship? Because I mentioned 800,000 graduates passing through my hands in the last 4 years. And I also mentioned that there is a huge disparity between the growing population and our economic growth. So, and the question I ask the public is that, will the economy be able to absorb the numbers coming? And the answer is clear. It is no. If the economy cannot absorb them, what's the way forward? And my proposal is entrepreneurship. People be able to become job creators instead of moving from one office to another office looking for non-existent job. And if we're able to achieve that, then we have to start mindset change, changing the mindset of our youth, so that even at the basic level, entrepreneurship is taught. And I had the opportunity of meeting the then Minister of State for Tertiary, in charge of Tertiary, Professor Yanka, when I was Executive Director, to share my concern with him. And it brought, as the result of it was bringing all the universities, leadership for the universities, and also industry. The linkage between the universities and also employers are very critical thing that we have to look. And industry should also be ready to invest in research. They should be able to invest in research in the institutions so that we'll be able to train the needed personnel that the industry need. And in other jurisdictions, that is done. You have corporate institutions investing hugely in research so that this research will come out with what the industry wants, so that the academic institutions or the training institutions will be able to train the personnel to tailor what the industry needs. But here, that is not the case. So it is also something that we have to be looking at, engaging the training institutions, engaging industry very closely, so that they will be able to bring out graduates that will be suited for the job. So I'll pause here, and if there are any questions for us to, for me to respond, then I'll respond. It's unfortunate that I have to leave early, but this is a very important discussion. It's a very important dialogue. And it is also something that is timely because of what is currently happening in our sub-region. It is important that we start the discussions and set the pace for our youth and let them know that there is huge opportunities for them. Yet, yes, it is true that there is unemployment, but there is also huge opportunities for them to take. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honorable Mustafa Yusuf, Minister for Youth and Sport. We broke protocol to allow you to make your initial remarks, and whilst you were doing that, Her Excellency Madam Stephanie Sullivan, U.S. Ambassador to Ghana, joined us. Please let's welcome her with a warm Ghanaian welcome. Thank you for joining us. We also have on the panel the Chairperson of the NCCE, Madam. Thank you for joining us, and very early as well, and also the Executive Director of Hwasi, Mr. Mutaru Mumuni Mukhtar. A round of applause for all the people on our panel this morning. Thank you, and for also making the time to be with us. Because we are in breach of protocol already, Honorable Minister, if I may ask you a few questions. A job and career fair has opened in Accra yesterday, and from the numbers that we saw at the scene yesterday, it seems that many Ghanaians, especially the youth, are interested in finding jobs. One of the questions that have come to us is whether government has a plan to digitize vacancies in the government sector. It will deal with one issue of scams in the job search, because one of the key things people become susceptible to is employment or job scams. They go out there thinking that the opportunities are real and they exist, only to be robbed of their hard-earned money, sometimes even kidnapped and endangered. As part of government's digitization drive, is this something that is on the table? The youth of Ghana want to know.
All right. Thank you so much. It's something that we have started already. And then Youth Employment Agency have already set up the job bank or the job center initiative. And that is all going in the direction of digitizing the job vacancies that we have. The whole idea of the job center initiative is to link up with the various job opportunities across the country, not only the public sector, but the private sector as well, so that once there is any job openings anywhere, the job center through the Youth Employment Agency are able to identify them and then be able to advertise those jobs on the job center. If you go to places like the UK, where I was trained, and when I was a student, I had opportunity of doing part-time job 20 hours in the UK. The center you go first is the job center, to go and look at the job openings in your county. And in those counties, on daily basis, it is updated, so that once you're able to fill in your destiny, you'll be there, and the institution that is seeking to employ you will call you and take you through the interview, sometimes even on phone. And once they are satisfied, you are given the job. And I had opportunity of using the job center in my period of stay in the UK. And it is so laudable, and I'll take up this opportunity to thank the leadership of the Youth Employment Agency for bringing this idea to Ghana. And it's to answer that question. And that is as a result of that yesterday, the job fair was launched. It is also commendable that the Youth Employment Agency did the job fair, at least giving Ghanaians the opportunity, because they will be able to identify the various job openings in those agencies and put together a package and gave Ghanaians the opportunity at the International Conference Center to even come and go through the process. Going through the process alone give the youth of Ghana the confidence that, at least in terms, just yesterday, as the Minister of Youth, on daily basis, people will come to you and say they want job, and you ask them to bring their CV. And if you look at the CV alone, and some of the CVs cannot even pass. If I'm a panel on a a job recruitment and I go through the CV, just taking the CV alone, I will disqualify you. So yesterday, what I saw, what the YEA did, was to have a CV clinic where they will take our youth through how to prepare a feasible or a CV that is very standardized. And also there is one thing that I want to make clear. The job market in Ghana or the job market is not a global thing. Ghanaian youth should not be thinking about job only when they are limited to only Ghana. It's a global. Nothing stops a graduate from Ashesi University, for example, or nothing stops a graduate from University of Ghana or KNUST competing and working for Microsoft. But if you have to be able to get this opportunity, then you have to also be able to have the proper soft skills, or what we call the 21st century skills. And that is what currently we are working on. And that is why yesterday job fair wasn't just focused on people coming to get jobs, but also giving opportunity to go through the process so that at least they will have that experience. And when they have another, they might not even be able to get a job yesterday, but another time they get the opportunity, the mistakes that are identified will be corrected and they will be able to secure a job in future. So it was a very laudable initiative, and I commend the Youth Employment Agency for that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. And as we said at the beginning of this program, before we broke the protocol, the Minister has to attend to urgent national business. And at this point, with your permission, Director General, I would kindly ask the Honorable Minister, if he may, to take his leave when he's ready, and then we'll continue with the program. You are watching the National Security Dialogue live on GBC News. This morning, we are having a conversation on youth unemployment, and we are looking at it from the perspective of whether it's a threat to Ghana's security or an opportunity for change. We've heard from the Honorable Minister for Youth and Sports. He's talked about the disparity in the number of people graduating from our tertiary institutions and the jobs available on the market and steps being taken to rectify it. Send us your questions and comments across our social media platforms. This program is streaming live on Facebook. We are streaming on Twitter. We are also streaming on YouTube, and you have the opportunity to engage and also ask your questions via our social media handles. So let me take you back to protocol, and we've had an opening prayer. At this point, we will invite the person who invited us into his home to give us the welcome address. Ladies and gentlemen, the Director General of GBC, Professor Amin Al-Hassan.
Thank you, Thelma, for the invitation and introduction. Our Honorable Minister for Youth and Sports has left. Her Excellency Ambassador Sullivan, Ambassador of the United States, Madam Josephine Nkrumah, Chairperson of the NCCE, Major General Edu Amanfo, National Security Coordinator, Dr. Ishmael Norman from the Institute for Security and Disaster Studies. We also have Honorable Adala MP for Bulsa North. I want to welcome all of you and our invited guests to this special occasion. For us in Ghana, September 11, we see it was a global trauma that keeps coming back to our minds. We each remember exactly where we were when it happened, and we will never forget it. It is a global trauma that we think that the best we can do from it is to derive lessons from it. And we will want to focus on the causes of extremism and see. And so today's event is targeted at bringing up issues of youth unemployment for us to deliberate on. We believe that it will help us target and look at sources, causes, and the push and pull factors when it comes to extremist actions. We also want to share with you that from the business we do, as a national broadcaster, we have always been saying that apart from youth unemployment, we think that Ghanaians living on the margins of the country should be given attention. And when you go around the national boundaries, towns and villages around the boundaries, you sometimes almost forget that they don't belong to the community called Ghana. The key feature that shows up is the fact that they hardly get Ghanaian content on their radio and television. All they get is, if you are living around Chairperson, you are bombarded with messages from Togo. If you live around Osei-Kujokrom, you are bombarded with messages from Ivory Coast, and Ghanaian content does not reach out to them, because invariably we haven't given attention to making sure that national content reaches out to them. And it is for this reason that we recently commissioned an extensive documentary, and we premiered it yesterday, and we'll continue showing it to draw attention to the fact that living in the margins must be given attention, those who live in the margins. And if you try it, the margins are so important that they keep the center together. And if you doubt this, try reading a page without margins. You will not be able to make sense of the text. So the margins gives the definition of the nation state. And Ghanaians living in the margins are so important to the peace that exists in the center. And if we give them attention and make them have a sense of belonging, we will be able to prevent extremist activities. Youth unemployment, distribution of national media content are critical to the conversations, and I'm happy to welcome you to the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation studios to have this conversation. Thank you very much, and you're most welcome.
Thank you very much, Professor Amin Al-Hassan, Director General of GBC. The premiere of the special documentary commissioned by the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation, Living in the Margins, has streamed on our social media handles. So I see a few comments here asking where they can watch it. You can catch it on GBC's Facebook page. It's right there. Just go through the videos and you see it. It's Living in the Margins of Ghana. And you can also leave your comments and questions on this program and others on those platforms, and we'll get to you. There's many of you here who are very special to us, and would like to acknowledge all the special guests who have graced this occasion. My co-moderator, Abdul Hai Mumin, will tell us who is sitting next to you. Abdul?
Okay. Thank you very much, Thelma. Good morning to everybody here. I have the honor of introducing those who have honored the invitation we extended to them. This is in no particular order. It's not in the order that you may think it's because of importance. It's just the order that we received the names. Of course, we were earlier with the Honorable Minister for Youth and Sports, Honorable Mustafa Yusufi, has had to leave. We've also been joined by Her Excellency Stephanie S. Sullivan, U.S. Ambassador to Ghana. Shall we acknowledge everyone here with a round of applause? Of course, we'll be introducing the chairperson for the occasion later, so I will skip the chairperson and introduce others as we go on. Dr. Ishmael Norman is the Executive Director of the Institute for Security, Disaster and Emergency Studies. He has joined us. Let's acknowledge him with a round of applause. We were supposed to have been joined in the studio by Colonel Bevlo Latte. Due to circumstances beyond his control, he has reached out to us. He's unable to join us, but he's making preparations to join us via Zoom. And when that is done, Colonel Bevlo Latte or his assistant will join us via Zoom to also contribute to the conversation here. We have with us Mr. Edward Jomla from WANEP, the West African Network for Peace Building. They are here. Thank you very much. The Minister for Employment and Labor Relations has sent a representative in the person of the CEO of the Youth Employment Agency, lawyer Justin Kodia Frimpong. Lawyer is here with us. Well, okay, I'm sure he stepped out with the minister, but he's here with us this morning. Of course, we have Major General Edu Amanfo. Major General Edu Amanfo is the National Security Coordinator. He is also representing the Minister for National Security here on this platform. Let's acknowledge him with a round of applause. Mr. Sadiq Edichum retired, is with the Amman Center for Democracy, Security and Counter-Terrorism Africa. He is here with us. Thank you very much. We've also been joined by Mr. Emmanuel Cotin, the former Executive Director, Africa Center for Counter-Terrorism. He's also here with us. Thank you very much. Chief Sofwan Samba. Chief Sofwan is the Sambana of Tamale. Chief Sofwan, is Chief still in the studio with us? Okay, he stepped out. Thank you. Honorable James Agalga is the MP for Bilsa North. He is also the Deputy Ranking Member for the Defense and Interior Committee of the Parliament of Ghana. He's here with us. Let's give Honorable a round of applause. Indeed, I find that my own Director General, he just welcomed us, Professor Amin Al-Hassan is here. Professor Amin Al-Hassan, ably assisted by the Acting Director of TV, Mr. George Mote, seated at the back. Let's give him a round of applause. The woman who initiated this conversation that has become this reality, the head of news here at GBC, Akushika Akwe, is also seated at the back there. She doesn't like cameras, but thank you very much. As time goes on, we will acknowledge all those who are here, especially staff of the NCC who are also here with us, and all my colleagues here at GBC who are working behind the scenes to make this possible. We are grateful to all of you. Thoma, I'll hand over back to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Abdul. It's my singular honor to introduce the chairperson for this occasion. As I'm sure some of you may have guessed, but in case you haven't, here's a little information about our chairperson.
Sorry, I just need to acknowledge the presence of my boss also, New Odate Lamte. I just saw that he's also sitting there in the mask. Thank you.
The mask just hides everybody, doesn't it? And we are maintaining COVID protocol, so everybody's very much maintaining the social distance as well. You should also do same at home and out there going about your businesses. COVID is still with us. Our chairperson for this function is a Ghanaian lawyer who currently serves as the chairperson of the National Commission for Civic Education. Madame Josephine Nkrumah has a Bachelor of Arts degree in Law and French from the University of Ghana, Legon. She was called to the Ghana Bar in February 1997. She holds a Masters of Law LLM degree from the International Maritime Law Institute, IMO, Malta, specializing in maritime law. She has more than 20 years experience as a legal consultant in both private and the public sectors. She was the advisory board of the on the advisory board of the Ministry of Transport from 2014 to 2017 and is the founding director of Lumens Veritas law firm in Accra. Our chairperson was the executive secretary to the Ghana Association of Stevedoring Companies from 2003 to 2012. She was appointed by the Mahama administration to serve as the deputy chairperson for the NCCE in Ghana in 2015 in charge of finance and administration, and she was subsequently promoted by the administration to serve as the chairperson of the NCCE in Ghana
interventions that have been made by government, but one of the key things we should realize is that we need to foster entrepreneurship. The traditional job seeking may not absorb all of our youth. And the reality of violent extremism is real. It's so real in Ghana, and it is so close. I think only a few days ago we heard about some 33 persons who had been arrested by the police, allegedly with links to terrorism. And these are not matters that should be taken lightly at all. For the National Commission for Civic Education, we have begun 2 major projects on violent extremism, and we've done a lot of activities that are youth-centered and youth-focused. One of the activities is funded or supported by the Ministry for National Security. The other one is supported by the European Union. That supported by the European Union is in the 5 northern regions of Ghana, and that supported by the Ministry for National Security is in the Volta region, Oti, and other border towns, and it's particularly focused at the distasteful issue of secessionism in Ghana and its likely linkages to violent extremism. So as a commission, we don't take these matters lightly at all, and most of our engagements have been tailored around research that was conducted to get an understanding of the citizenry and their role in combatant or in safeguarding our national security. Also in understanding whether at all we appreciate the signals of violent extremism and radicalization, and raising awareness, having raised that kind of awareness, sharing with them some of the signs we should look out for. The issue of national security is not a matter alone for the Ministry for National Security. I think when we adopt a people-centered approach to this, we would be able we would be better placed to fight the issues of violent extremism. I think underscoring all of this is also the key issue of what kind of virtues and values we are inculcating in our youth for them not to fall prey to violent extremism or radicalization. So values of, peace building, of peaceful coexistence, of tolerance, of resilience are key to what we do now. And these are some of the matters that we hope that we'll be discussing here today. I'd like to thank Hwasi and GBC for inviting me to chair this function. And I know that we have very knowledgeable people on our panel here. And so I am eager and looking forward to that. But I would beg of you, since we are also commemorating 9/11, which changed the global landscape of security, may I respectfully suggest that in honor of the lives that were lost then, we hold a minute's silence to remember these people. May their souls repose peacefully in the Lord's bosom. Thank you.
Thank you. A round of applause for Madam Josephine Nkrumah, setting the tone which has already been set by the able Minister for Youth and Sports, reinforcing the need to address youth unemployment as one of the challenges to Ghana's security. We are looking at issues of piracy. We know that pirates have taken to territorial waters of countries, and they are looting, they are kidnapping people. We know that persons who are otherwise gainfully employed are usually the ones who are the target for such radicalization. And so conversations like this is to foster discussions on how we can wrap our heads around the challenges presented and also the opportunities that we can get from there. I've told you that we are streaming live, invited your comments, a few that I have here, with your permission, Madam Chair, if I may read some of them. Mohammed Danzima, you are saying the Honorable Minister for Youth and Sport is making you proud, and thank you. We appreciate that comment. Alhaji Ali, you said, I'm Ali from Boni. I really appreciate what you are talking about. But now in Ghana, most of the jobs, if you don't have any protocol or big man from your family, it's always difficult for you to get employment, even if you're having all the qualifications. I'll be much grateful if you could address the issue of protocol and big man things, so everyone can have access to a job if he or she is having all the qualifications needed. Thank you, Alhaji Ali. Alhaji Muhammad Dauda, you said you are watching us. Thank you. You can also send comments and questions, same to our social media platforms. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and on YouTube. At this point, we'll start the conversation, or we'll continue from where the Honorable Minister left off, with remarks by the Executive Director of Hwasi, Mutaru Momoni Mukhtar. And I'll invite you now to make your remarks. A round of applause for him, please.
Thank you very much. Good morning to everyone. Madam Chair, our distinguished guest of honor, Honorable Minister, fortunately, who has left us here, and members of Parliament, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you all to our National Security Dialogue today on the challenge of youth employment, youth unemployment and violent extremism in Ghana and in the Sahel region. Tomorrow will be exactly 20 years when America was attacked by terrorists in what came to be known as 9/11 attacks. This is the single biggest terrorist event in our history. 2,998 lives were lost, with people from 90 different countries. And I would like to use this opportunity for us to express our sympathies to the government and people of America and to all the families from all the 90 different countries who lost loved ones. And thank you, Madam Chair, for the minute of silence already. It's been 20 years ago, but the world continues to battle with terrorism. The threat has evolved in many ways, and today in our region, violent extremism is moving towards coastal states, and countries, including Ghana, are at risk of violent extremism. With the return of the Taliban and the seeming resurgence of military coups in West Africa, which largely, with many analysis, point to the fact that it's fueled by discontent and dysfunctional state institutions. Many are questioning what all this means for all of us, especially countries along the coast who are yet to experience attacks. The West Africa Center for Counter-Extremism has in the last 4 years worked hard to deepen local understanding and appreciation of what violent extremism is and radicalization, and what drivers could motivate young people, especially unemployed and marginalized individuals, to engage in violent extremism. With the support of the states and the U.S. Embassy, we have helped train over 2,800 youth and community actors to help build resilience against the threat. We believe that success against terrorism cannot be won on the battlefield. Success against terrorism can only be won in the mindset in the local community in dealing with the underpinnings of radicalization and violent extremism. It will be won by helping to fix our countries, fixing Ghana and West Africa. And we cannot fix these countries without fixing the youth. So we cannot fix West Africa or our country without fixing the youth of this country. It is in this light that we have assembled distinguished guests here, personalities here today to reflect on the events of September 11th attacks and the growing violent extremism and the pervasive youth unemployment, and how we can work together to help build resilience against the threat and ensure that we continue to act to deepen peace and stability in this country and within West Africa. Thank you.
thank you, Mr. Mutare Mumuni Mukhtar, for Executive Director for the West Africa Center for Counter-Extremism. Let's give them another round of applause because they are picking up the tab for this program. So this collaboration is between GBC and Hwasi. Thank you, sir, for coming on board. Now I'll also welcome remarks from Major General Francis Edu Amamfo, the National Security Coordinator. Thank you.
Madam Chairperson, you remember we met at Koforidua on similar national security issues, talking about piracy on our EEZs and other topical issues. Your Excellency, my colleague, the Ambassador of the United States, accredited to our country, Ghana, distinguished members of the panel, ladies and gentlemen, the question we are here to address at this national security dialogue, I see it as youth employment. Is it a national security threat, or it is an opportunity for change? Where I'm coming from as the National Security Coordinator, I'll tell you the answer is both. It is a national security threat, and it gives us an opportunity for change to make things better for our youth. Madam Chairperson, let me say that it is a great honor for me to be part of this program because I have an overarching supervision of the security of our nation, Ghana. So I'll say a big ayuko to the organizers of this forum this morning. Indeed, the deadly 9/11 attack, which claimed the lives of close to 3,000 people and injured about 25,000 others, and triggered further attacks in other parts of this world, remains a defining moment in the history of the world. It was a critical development that transcended race, color, religion, cultural and political divides. And it was an event that united world leaders and inspired inter alia joint operations, intelligence sharing, and technology development to defeat terrorism and violent extremism. Subsequently, the enhanced cooperation and collaboration among states spurred sweeping security reforms the world over and greatly shaped global perspectives on issues bordering on human rights, international relations, intelligence sharing, surveillance, violent extremism, and terrorism. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, this watershed event reinforced the need for states to recognize the implication of the evolving concept of national security, from the use of arms to safeguard our territorial integrity, towards non-military dimensions such as economic, environmental, energy, food, infrastructure, cyber, and border security, generally defined as human security. So what we are talking about here, the bottom line, is human security. For us in Ghana, the 9/11 attack was a realization that the security threats identified decades ago, particularly the threat of terrorism, had manifested with greater speed and intensity than expected. This largely informed a drafting of the national framework for preventing and countering violent extremism and terrorism in Ghana. And also recently we launched the National Security Strategy. All these are offshoots of the 9/11 attack. Evidently, the security of Ghana continues to be threatened by growing activities of terrorist and extremist groups in the Sahel region. And I'm glad that a gentleman from Hwasi alluded to the fact that the Sahel is growing terrorists and extremists, and they are fast approaching the coastal states, including our country, Ghana. So the ability to sufficiently identify such terrorist and extremist pull factors is critical in discouraging the infiltration of countries by terrorists and violent extremists. Ladies and gentlemen, it is worth noting that although widespread chronic poverty, governance challenges, porous borders, and food insecurities have been identified as factors accounting for the susceptibility of the sub-region to terrorist and extremist attacks. But unemployment remains the major tool exploited by such miscreants. So, the categorization of unemployment as a security threat stems from the ability to stall socio-economic development, induce poverty, adversely impact the functioning of families and societies, and eat into the moral fabric of our societies, thereby promoting crimes such as robbery, illegal mining, ritual killings, and kidnapping for ransom. All these are growing threats to our country. More worrisome is the likelihood of terrorist and extremist elements exploiting the vulnerabilities of the unemployed, the youth who are unemployed, and for whom we are all here talking about this subject matter. So being aware of the tendency of the rise in unemployment to derail the gains made towards preserving the country's security, government has introduced a myriad of interventions. So it is not as if nobody is doing anything about the problem. Previous governments have done something, and current government also is putting in a myriad of interventions aimed at creating more jobs for the youth. And notably among these are: 1, the Alternative Livelihood Development Program; 2, the Ghana Automotive Development Policy; 3, the 1D, 1F, One District, One Factory Program; Planting and Rearing for Food and Jobs; Youth in Afforestation. All these are government interventions to mitigate the effects of youth unemployment. And I must say that youth unemployment, or what is called youth bulge, is a very, very dangerous trend for any country. In fact, the theory of youth bulge asserts that the presence of 20% of your youth unemployed in any country is recipe for rebellion. And I must be frank with you, as coming from national security, we need to factor this into our mindset and into the discourse and into the discussion. Presence of 20% of your youth unemployed is recipe for disaster, recipe for rebellion. So we need to address this issue comprehensively. So to conclude, I would like to make a few suggestions. One, I want to encourage the private sector and all stakeholders to support the diversification and structural transformation drive of our economy. The ability to effectively diversify and transform the economy to reduce the reliance on traditional exports for foreign exchange will serve as a buffer that would cushion the economy from shocks on the international market. Against this backdrop, there is the need to explore alternative sources of large-scale job creation, such as agro-processing and tourism. The agro-processing industry, marked by micro and small-scale farms, involved in value addition to vegetables, horticultural products, roots and tubers for export and domestic consumption, could be effectively utilized to address deficiencies in job creation. Further, ongoing efforts to digitize the economy should be supported by stakeholders, as it does not only improve productivity but also serves as a plug to seal the cracks through which government revenue leaks. This would not only enhance the domestic revenue mobilization capacity of government, but also better position it to exploit the opportunities presented by the Africa Center for, Africa AFCFTA AFTA agreement, and expand ongoing projects and initiatives to create more jobs for the youth. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, it needs stressing that although Ghana continues to be heralded as a beacon of peace in the sub-region, we must not rest on our OS. It is not finished yet. We need to do some more. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you, sir, for sharing those remarks with us. And the key thing for me is the point you made about 20% of unemployed youth in any country being a recipe for disaster, and that is a key takeaway for me from his presentation. We'll welcome another gentleman who is also in defense, and he's a ranking member of the Committee of Defense and Interior of the Parliament of the Republic of Ghana. He's also a member of Parliament for Wilsa North constituency, the Honorable James Agalga.
Thank you very much. I'd like to stand on the existing protocols and go straight to make a few points. Ladies and gentlemen, I would first and foremost like to thank the West Africa Center for Violent Extremism, Hwasi, and the GBC for making it possible for us to have this dialogue. As ranking member for Defense and Interior, I have taken note of the commitments made by some of the speakers, including the Minister for Youth and Sports, and now the National Security Coordinator. they have all clearly identified youth unemployment as a driver of violent extremism and terrorism. They have also told us what the country intends to do, the policy direction of this government, the Akufo-Addo government, to deal with the issue of youth unemployment. But I'm happy to state that here some of the interventions we are very much aware of. They talk about 9/11, and I should say we extend our condolence to the people of America. So, Ambassador, you don't want to convey our sympathies to your country for the deaths, the fatalities that were recorded on 9/11. Now, having said that, what are some of the interventions? National Security Coordinator says some legal framework, a document for countering violent extremism and terrorism was launched by the government as a direct response to 9/11. We also recently saw our president launch the National Security Strategy. And in those documents, there are key interventions that, when rolled out, we should be able to deal with violent extremism and terrorism. Terrorism is fast approaching the Southward Trust. If you look at our neighboring countries, Burkina Faso, Mali, a few years ago, these countries were very peaceful nations, but now they have been taken over by terrorists. So what do? We have the blueprint, National Security Strategy, and the one for countering violent extremism and terrorism. These are excellent documents. I have perused them. I have no doubt in my mind that when they are fully implemented, we should be able to deal with, first, the main driver of violent extremism and terrorism, which is youth unemployment. But oftentimes in this country, we're very good at formulating excellent policies, promulgating them, and shelving them. And so, National Security Coordinator, as ranking member for Defense and Interior Committee in Parliament, ours is to hold government in check, to oversight government's activities. And so these documents, we are going to have to hold you accountable for the commitments that you have made, which commitments are encapsulated in the document. So that if it gets to the point where we think that we are not implementing the policy decisions that are contained in those documents, we would speak out for the whole country to hear. And so, whilst commending you for launching those documents, my appeal to you is that please, please, please don't allow these documents to stay on the shelves and gather dust. Those documents have to be implemented. The Minister for Youth and Sports did talk about technical and vocational education, and I think that that is the way to go. He talked about CODVET, so government must devote funds, ensure that CODVET, technical and vocational education, is funded. In the previous administration, we had a plan. Our strategy was to, first of all, elevate our polytechnics to the status of universities. And so today, all the 10 polytechnics that we used to have are technical universities. That, for me, is a milestone. But converting the universities, the former polytechnics into technical universities is not enough. Government must resource them. I recently visited Bolgatanga Polytechnic, and the Vice Chancellor of Bolgatanga Polytechnic said that, look, it was a brilliant idea for us to have converted the polytechnics into technical universities. But government must ensure that the technical universities become a priority, so that they are given adequate funding. And if that is done, they are sure, because we talked about entrepreneurial skills and the need to train entrepreneurs rather than job seekers. When you come out of the university and you can do, say, welding, you are a mechanic, you are an architect, you wouldn't have to go to offices seeking jobs. And so that is one of the solutions to the problem we are discussing right now. One last remark I want to make is that youth unemployment in this country has resulted in one driver that we must pay particular attention to, which is what? Political vigilantism. There is a direct correlation between youth employment and political vigilantism, which is a major problem that we in this country are confronted with, and if care is not taken. We're all talking about terrorism, violent extremism from a global perspective, but from the domestic angle, we are likely to breed homegrown terrorists if we don't nip the issue of political vigilantism in the bud. Now, who are they? They are aligned to the major political parties. We have to deal with them. But do we have the political will to deal with political vigilantism? We sit in Parliament, and some time ago, government introduced a bill on political vigilantism. The idea was to ban political vigilantism. And I made the point that, look, I think the problem that we are faced with hasn't got to do with inadequate legislation to deal with political vigilantism, because in my view, we had sufficient legislation to deal with the canker of political vigilantism. But somehow government's approach was that we needed to have a brand new law in place. Now, after the enactment of that law, it appears there is some inertia when it comes to the implementation of the new law which seeks to ban political vigilantism. So, National Security Coordinator, this is something we need to watch. If we don't, we have the examples of Boko Haram. They started as political vigilante groups and then subsequently mutated into full-blown terrorist organizations. So with those few remarks, I'd like to once again thank the organizers of this program for ensuring that we have this dialogue. From time to time, if we are able to dialogue on some of these issues, I'm sure we'll be able to create the much needed awareness to deal with the issues of unemployment and violent extremism, and by extension, terrorism. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable James Agalga, MP, Bosa North, and Ranking Member of the Committee of Defense and Interior of the Parliament of the Republic of Ghana. You are watching the National Security Dialogue, a special program put together by the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation in partnership with the West Africa Center for Counter-Extremism, Hwasi, and we're having this conversation on the challenge of youth unemployment and violent extremism in Ghana and the Sahel. So we are looking at whether youth unemployment is a threat to our security or an opportunity to make changes. We've heard from the Minister for Youth and Sports. We've heard from Hwasi, who are partnering and picking up the check for this program. We've heard from the National Security Coordinator, the ranking member of the Defense and Interior Minister of Parliament, and we've also heard from the Director General of the GBC. At this point, there is another lady on the panel, and would like to invite her now. Her Excellency, the U.S. Ambassador to Ghana, Madame Stephanie S. Sullivan, and she will address us next. Madam.
It's attached, so if
you may
you
speak from
the, you would have gotten up with the whole carpet.
Thank you so much for the introduction, and I will also ask to sit on all previous protocols. So good morning, and I'd like to start by thanking GBC and Hwasi, Executive Director Mr. Mutaru Mukhtar, for the invitation to speak this morning on this very, very important topic. And I'd also like to point out that Mr. Mukhtar is a 2016 alumnus of the prestigious U.S. Government Mandela Washington Fellowship that is part of the Young African Leaders Initiative, or YALI, for which we do an annual recruitment on a competitive basis. No protocol observed with that. And it's for young leaders aged 35 and below who are already showing their leadership skills in entrepreneurship, civic engagement, and public administration. So for more details, a little infomercial, I would direct you to the U.S. Embassy website or our social media pages for this and other similar opportunities. Mr. Mukhtar was selected for his proven leadership and positive contributions to his community, and we're so pleased to see how he has continued to shine. Thanks, Mukhtar, for your dedicated work through Hwasi to empower youth and inspire leadership in peace, human rights, and good governance in Ghana. I'd also like to thank all of the distinguished speakers and participants present, as well as those who are joining us live on GBC. I also would like to join in my thanks to the chair for the minute of silence. And I really greatly appreciate the remarks the previous panelists have shared with the group so far. So tomorrow, as has been pointed out, we mark the 20th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks. And we mourn the nearly 3,000 lives taken far too soon. More than 90 countries lost citizens in the attacks, including Ghana, which lost 2 Ghanaians and 2 Ghanaian Americans. The people who perished in the Twin Towers, the Pentagon, and the field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, including the heroic first responders who ran to trouble and gave their lives to help others, left behind loved ones and communities who were never the same. We honor their lives and their memory on this solemn occasion and mourn what we all lost, and I mean the whole world lost on that terrible day. I had just returned to the United States the month before from my previous assignment in Ghana and had started my new job at the Department of State only days before. In the midst of the surreal silence of the skies that ensued when all air traffic was suspended for several days, what really heartened us as Americans was the global outpouring of goodwill and solidarity. Today, we gather in that same spirit of solidarity and collaboration to address a common threat to our shared peace and stability. Violent extremism threatens our democratic institutions, our collective security, and our economic prosperity. Together, we must prevent this global scourge and counter violent extremism where it has already taken root. Building on the lessons of the last 20 years, we know we need to employ a sustainable and agile approach that includes sharing intelligence, building global partnerships, and most importantly, as we've heard already today, investing in inclusive development. And that means inclusive of the youth as well, in accountable governance, in preventive diplomacy, and in the professionalism of the security services in ways that make it harder for terrorists to recruit and operate with impunity. Ghana is a regional leader in peace and security, especially through its contributions to international peacekeeping missions and as current chair of ECOWAS. And let me just note here that I agree Ghana should not export all of its peace. It's very important for Ghana not to take its own peace for granted. And I think we heard a bit about that from the Honorable Member of Parliament moments ago. Let me assure you, the United States is deeply committed to collaborating with Ghana to maintain peace and security. We recognize that a multifaceted approach is fundamental to prevent and counter violent extremism. And to that end, we're partnering with Ghanaians in a number of areas, ranging from working with the public sector and civil society organizations, supporting vulnerable communities, to engaging in traditional military-to-military and other security activities. Ghana's national framework for preventing and countering violent extremism and terrorism in Ghana guides our programs, which are aligned with Ghana's strategy to prevent, preempt, protect, and if necessary, respond, and with Ghana's new national security strategy. The most important programs are those that support Ghana's efforts to prevent violent extremism from taking hold. Through the United States Agency for International Development, USAID, we're helping to reduce extremists' ability to radicalize, recruit, mobilize, and inspire violent acts. USAID supports the development of early warning indicators from communities, engagements with regional security councils and peace councils, public education on nonviolence, and other activities aimed at preventing violent extremism. As my grandmother used to say, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. We also have a number of projects aimed at enhancing the value chain to improve the economic opportunities, such as supporting the Global Shea Initiative and mobilizing finance for agriculture, to name just a few. When it comes to preempting violent extremism in Ghana, the United States is working closely with the Ghana Armed Forces to identify risks and uncover threats. Our programs are designed to help enhance a sustainable capability within the Ghana Armed Forces to process, analyze, and disseminate intelligence to decision makers so that they can rapidly respond to emerging threats. We believe the best results can be achieved when civilian and military institutions work together to prevent and counter violent extremism. At Ghana's request, the United States has dedicated a civil-military support element to work alongside the Ghana Armed Forces leaders in that effort. Here, let me stress that the professionalism of the security services is of vital importance. The 2017 United Nations Development Program report called Journey to Extremism in Africa found that 71% of those recruited to radicalization in sub-Saharan Africa had become recruited after they or someone close to them had had a serious negative interaction with government security personnel, 71%. In terms of protection, the United States is working closely with the government of Ghana to assist security services with protecting vulnerable areas and populations. Paramount among those activities is our partnership with Ghana through the Security Governance Initiative, or SGI, which I co-chair with my neighbor on this panel, the National Security Coordinator, General Francis Adoamanfo. This program, or partnership of SGI, focuses on supporting Ghana's interministerial efforts to improve the management, accountability, and sustainability of security sector institutions and strengthen border security to prevent violent extremism from spilling over Ghana's borders. It also has an element of maritime security as well as cyber security, with an underlining theme of enhancing administration of justice. Finally, as a last resort, it is important that Ghana be prepared to respond in the event of a violent extremist or terrorist attack. To that end, the United States is partnering with Ghana to provide training on crisis response and counterterrorism operations. Ghana has been invited to participate in multinational exercise Flintlock in 2022 and to host the exercise in 2023. Exercise Flintlock is a U.S.-led military and security exercise that includes participants from more than 30 African countries and partner nations to strengthen their ability to cooperatively counter violent extremist organizations, protect their borders, and support regional stability. None of our work would be possible without collaboration from committed partners and stakeholders, like all of you joining this forum. Today's event is a significant step in our collective efforts to address root causes and find solutions to preventing violent extremism. I look forward to additional insights from the panel and the discussion. Thank you for your kind attention and for this 20th anniversary commemoration of the horrific attacks of 9/11 that changed the world for all of us.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency, the U.S. Ambassador to Ghana, Stephanie Sullivan, for those remarks. Key points for me is the remark on the professionalism of the security service and how people react or overreact in this case negatively after they've had encounters. Over 70% of these encounters are from what they've experienced from security services, and also the fact that Ghana needs to be prepared to respond if there is ever an extreme violent attack within the borders of our country. We are coming to you live from the studios of Ghana Broadcasting Corporation. This is GBC News, and we are having a national security dialogue on youth unemployment and whether it poses a threat to our security or whether it presents an opportunity for change. Our panel, as we've heard them so far, the Minister for Youth and Sport, Honorable Mustafa Yusuf, who has had to take leave of us, the Executive Director of Hwasi, Mr. Mutaro Mumuni Mukhtar. We've heard from the National Security Coordinator, Major General Francis Edu Amamfo. The chairperson for this program is the chairperson of the NCCE, Madame Josephine Nkrumah. We've just listened to the ambassador to Ghana from the US, Her Excellency Stephanie Sullivan. They've all made the point that indeed youth unemployment is a threat to our security, but also presents opportunities that we can harness to do great things. At this point, I'd like to reiterate that you can send your questions and comments to us on our social media streams. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, and also streaming on YouTube. We're also on Instagram. A few of you have sent some questions already. For now, I'd like to engage another member of the panel in more of a direct conversation, if I may, and I'll come to Dr. Ishmael Norman, Executive Director of the Institute of Security, Disaster and Emergency Studies. Dr. Norman, I'll just like to engage your thoughts on a few issues, and I'll start with the fact that we've heard other different panel members refer to the incident that happened in the United States 20 years ago tomorrow as a catalyst that caused a change in the way we even think about security and how it affects other countries within our borders. Of course, some 3,000, nearly 3,000 lives lost of different nationalities, so countries could relate more personally with those horrific things we saw during 9/11. But reiterate that point for us once again, why the whole world should be concerned about the rising rates of terrorism with reference to 9/11.
Okay. Thank you very much, Madam Chair, Madam Ambassador, Major General, invited guests, all protocol observed. 9/11 revealed to the world that no matter how good your security is, moments of lapses could lead to serious repercussions. I believe that Mohammed Atta and his compatriot, the 5 terrorists that took the planes into the World Trade Center and other places in the United States, and thereafter all the violence we've seen in Madrid, London, other places, all brought to the attention of the world that in the modern era, power is in the hands of an individual, not a group, not the army. The army is a great tool to have, but today, because of terrorism as a tool for whatever grievances, whatever regime change, whatever message they want to send, has awoken the rest of the world to the reality that everybody matters. Now, let me connect our conversation to the question you just posed to me. I think we shouldn't rush to rationalize the connection between youth unemployment and terrorism. None of the 5 members of that horrible day that did the terrorist act against the United States of America were poor. The 9/11 Commission that was set after came out with the result that in fact they came from middle class families, some of them upper middle class. And so if we rush and make the connection, there are billions of people that are poor who are not attracted to terrorist ideation. There are millions of Ghanaians that are poor who are not picking pickaxes and forks and machetes going after the middle class, the upper class, the rich people. So we have to be very careful in making that connection, because if we make the wrong connection, then the policy development will be wrong, then the interventions will be wrong. I must say that I have studied this subject since 9/11. I have produced 3 papers, and I continue to do the research on this topic. I have reviewed more than 200 papers. There is not a scintilla of evidence connecting poverty to violent extremism. Not. What we can connect to is that unemployment leads to crime, leads to gangs, leads to drug trafficking, leads to prostitution, and leads to what Honorable Agaga was talking about: land guards, political vigilantism, student insurrection, and disrespect for the establishment. These, we know, are also variables that can weaken central government. But we have to be careful not to get into lazy rationalization of unemployment being a panacea or the cause for violent extremism.
So if I'm getting you correctly, you want us to be careful in assuming that anybody who is unemployed is necessarily ripe for recruitment into a terrorist act. All right, so let's narrow it down a bit more to our sub-region and the fact that we've had pockets of instability which has led to coups and demonstrations across West Africa, and people have said that we should be concerned because they have the tendency to land us into a place that we do not want to see. We've seen the coup that happened in Guinea in the last week, and that came on the heels of the scenes we witnessed in Afghanistan, people trying to flee from bad situations there. What lessons should we learn from these things that are happening around us in the sub-region as a country?
In 1966, when Afrifa and Kotoka did the coup against Kwame Nkrumah's regime, part of the rationale for the coup was that people were suffering, that prices of consumer goods were high, that there was unemployment. It's the same kind of rationale that all subsequent coup planners have also used, and it is no different from what whatever his name is in Guinea has also used. The terrorist recruiters also use the same thing. They use the same rationale. So if you are looking for a cause to celebrate in order to attract people to you, you can use youth unemployment, you can use lack of jobs, you can use hardships in Ghana. Even the president of Ghana himself, Nana Akufo-Addo, has said times are hard. What did he mean by that? When you make statements like that, you are basically justifying why the opponents on the other side should not use that to extrapolate, generalize, and expand it. So I think the way we talk itself is a problem. Or die be die, do and die. These kinds of talks should not come from our leaders. They are terrible public posturing, because we should also keep in mind these two men, or die be die and do and die, they have access to airplanes. Any problem, they will be out. President Mohammed's ex-President Mohammed's brother has a plane. President Akufo-Addo has access to an airplane. Anytime you and I don't have. So when they talk like that, I want the youth to refrain from that, not to follow these men with that consequential statement, do or die, or die be die. The youth of Ghana are not suicidal. They are not desperate. There are many of them who are trying their very best to be all they can be. Excuse me, Madam Sullivan, to quote U.S. Army recruiting slogan, which I was a member of the U.S. Army some time ago, the youth of Ghana don't want to die. The youth of Ghana want to commit themselves to excellence, to performance, but they don't have access to credit. We are talking about entrepreneurship. How do they get access to credit? Yesterday, my company was at conference center trying to recruit. And within a twinkle of an eye, we collected a lot of CVs. From here, I am going there. Now, yeah, we have collected the CVs. What does it mean? It doesn't mean anything. It's just a show. We're talking about the auto industry. How many people does VW assembly plant, screwdriver operation, how many people does it employ? We need to look at job creation that really can absorb a large number of the youth. And we're not doing that. We are going for the grandiose project. They don't create effective multiplier effect when it comes to employment creation. So I think our governments, Kufuor, Mahama, Mills, Akufo-Addo's government, have been very lazy in thinking about constructive ways to create jobs for the youth. It is now that the whole thing has become a much bigger issue right in our face, up close and very uncomfortable, that we're beginning to find reasons and connections. But you cannot analyze youth unemployment with the chaos theory that everything that happens relates to youth unemployment. Crime has gone up in this country not because of the unemployed youth. It is because there are no opportunities. That is how we have to look at it. Lack of opportunities makes people do all kinds of things, including violent crimes, prostitution, drug trafficking, human trafficking, and so on and so forth. So it is, I wish the topic was, what is the responsibility of government in creating jobs for the youth so that they will not be attracted to violent extremism?
Which was going to be my next question.
Thank
that
you.
I'm sure that you have suggestions of what governments can do practically to make these employment opportunities more readily available for persons who feel they are qualified to benefit from. We've had a concern over our social media comments about whom you know in the search for jobs. How do we overcome these challenges as well as create avenues for others to believe in the system so they can have a fair chance when they do apply based on the recommendations that you may have?
It's a very simple matter. Merit-based recruitment. And in Ghana, I can say this without equivocation. The government of Ghana, this government, the previous ones, they do not believe in merit-based appointments. It's your brother, your sister, your uncle, your tribesman. That's how it's going. We have a lot of unqualified people in this government, and they were in the previous government, and the ones before, and the ones before. Education has been devalued by the process of selecting unqualified people in jobs they cannot really do. But we rationalize it off that they are good. No matter the advice we give, it's not going to be listened to. Because if you're going to bring an investment, such as car assembly, ask the people. Do a town hall meeting. This is what we want to do. Would that be helpful? What would you like to see so that we can employ more people? We don't hear about anything. All we hear about is it is being launched. It is being launched. We, as the people of this country, the moment we vote, we cast our vote, we are done with. We become ignorables. Nobody pays attention to us. And that is what we have. The accumulation of the total neglect of the wishes and the devotion and contributions of the people is what has created this. If you have a business, you go to the bank to ask for a loan, you're not going to get it, even if you have collateral. So when we tell the youth that they should be entrepreneurial, what does it mean? Where are the venture capitalists If Google inventor, Facebook, and eBay, they were Ghanaians, no matter how smart they are, those ideas will never have come to fruition. Never. I am not pessimistic, but our governments are insensitive to the needs of the people, the needs of the youth, particularly. That is why protocol placement has become so important, because they want to satisfy their own people. And instead, people go to university. I've been a university lecturer for over 10 years, and people finish university first class, they can't find job because they don't know anybody in government. Anybody in government. There was a teaching position I've been looking for 4 years. At my caliber, I haven't gotten that job. Not because I cannot teach. Maybe because they don't like what I say when I'm consulted by groups like you. But it doesn't matter. I'm already okay. What about the young people who want to do something? They come from places like Novrongo, they don't know anybody. They come from Tamale, they don't know anybody. From Konongo, Fwabisim, they don't know anybody. How are they going to get jobs? It is a really, really terrible thing that our governments have systematically broken down merit-based recruitment, and because of that, our educational system has become almost nothing, useless to go to university. Because when you finish, what is the point of going to pay 5,000 cedis for 4 years? That's 20,000. Then you do a master's, that's 15,000, that's 35,000. What is the point of going through this process for 5 years, and then you end up going to sit at home for another 5 years? And the governments have to change their mentality. If they didn't go to school, if they themselves are not accomplished, it doesn't mean they should punish those who have gone to school. Otherwise, we must as well stop free HSS. We must as well close down the universities, and when somebody grows up to a certain age, we give him or her money to start business. Because the whole talk about entrepreneurship is just empty slogan. Empty slogan.
Quite interesting comments there from our panel member, and I hear so many of you in the audience making some remarks. I'll give you the opportunity to also ask the panel some questions. But sir, you made a very fundamental statement about education not providing the opportunities, or not teaching young people, because when they finish, the appointments are made by whom you know basis. There are a few comments on Facebook that I would like to read. Kwame Favor Henry says, the youth are lazy. Some, they sit on social media shouting they want jobs but have no experience or skills. You take them on board too, they come few days and never return. They just don't want to respect time, but want to follow politics and make quick monies. I just want to pick your thoughts, because we're making the case for young people getting an education but not getting jobs. There's also the argument that some do get the opportunities but they waste them.
If, for example, I finish a master's degree and you employ me as a receptionist in a hotel, you think I will really enjoy that?
So underemployment is also an issue on top of unemployment.
Exactly.
So persons are they take roles that they are overqualified for, just to maybe get a foot in the door. And some believe, there's a comment here that I'll try to find it, but it alluded to the fact that we have Zulka Idris said we have to let graduates work everywhere, not just based on their field or certificates. They will go up the ladder when the graduates are needed to fill a certain vacancy in the companies where they are employed. It will clear the stigma of graduates selling or collecting refuse to make a living. So underemployment, people sometimes even accept entry-level jobs, hoping that other vacancies could open up in the companies where they work so they can apply for them.
Let's put this in context. The work ethics of Ghanaians is poor. Period. Where there are people full of ministry offices who are sitting there browsing. Supervisors don't know how to supervise. Many people work without performance objective. At the end of the year, they have achieved absolutely nothing, and yet they get raised. The work ethics of Ghana Nana Akufo-Addo said on 17th of January, 17th of May, 2017, that the average Ghanaian is a clock watcher. That means that the average Ghanaian is a lazy human being. If we accept these premises, you cannot condemn anybody. You have to engage the people when you employ them. A lot of Ghanaians do not know how to supervise people. You are a woman, so they won't give you any job to do. You are an Ewe, so they won't give you any job to do. You are an Akan, so they won't give you any job to do. So this kind of stupidity is going on in our offices, including government, public institutions. And so you cannot condemn me when you have given me no performance objective. So I come to the job, I have no computer, I have no typewriter, I have no iPad, I have no table. And you say, here, sit here. And I sit. And if I don't do anything, then you blame me. This is going on. Go through the government offices. You see it every single day you visit any government office. So we are making a lot of noise about the youth not being hardworking. But let me ask you, are the directors and the chief directors, are they hardworking? They are not. They show up at work sometimes 9, 3 o'clock, they are gone. Sometimes they don't come at all. Only their jacket will be on the seat. So the work ethic of Ghanaians is poor. And we need to look at the whole thing in a holistic manner and not blame, make scapegoat out of the youth because they are voiceless. We can't do that anymore because in the modern day, Kofi Annan, God bless his soul, wherever he is, he said in the modern day, after the Rwanda genocide, that the power is in the hands of the individual.
Since we are talking about the work environment, one of the other issues is the debate about some jobs being reserved solely for Ghanaian nationals, and the fact that some raise concerns that foreign companies come in and try to take over some of the jobs. Some argue that it's one of the reasons why the youth may not be getting jobs and so may be tempted to get into undesirable ventures, if I can use those expressions. What would your thoughts be on this matter? And someone here called Anye Yor sent that concern about foreigners who come to Ghana and overnight they appear to make loads of money. We don't know where the money's come from.
Okay, they don't understand how the Indians, the Lebanese operate. They operate like a little cartel amongst them. You come, they find money for you, they support you to grow your business, then you pay back. I think it's called Hawala or what, Havala kind of financing system. We Ghanaians, we don't support each other. We Ghanaians, we tend to pull each other down. We Ghanaians, even if you have money to do a job, we will undermine you. So that is why we don't operate effectively. If you go to UK, Indian comes with a portmanteau, within 4 or 5 months, he's got a storefront. Within 4 years, he's making a lot of money because they support each other. They pull their resources together. Try a business, a kiosk, and go to your own relatives that they should bring a little bit of money to invest in that, and they will tell you that they don't have money. But let somebody die in that family, and you see the beautiful clothes that they will buy for that event. So I think that there is a problem in this country. We don't do research. As a scholar, as a lecturer, I like evidence-based decision making. And all the allegations about the youth, about this and that. First of all, national security has done no research to establish a connection between unemployment and violent extremism. We have no idea how many of the youth are involved in crime. How many are involved in the use of lethal weapons in crime. We have no idea how many of the cohort of the youth that are women that are involved in crime. Our system is so poorly managed across board. Everywhere you look, the Ghana police has no statistics creating a correlation between the youth and crime and typology of crime. So we talk rubbish all the time. There's crime that, youth this, youth that, youth this, and yet we have no evidence to show exactly What is the animal we're talking about?
Because the National Security Coordinator is here, perhaps I would give him the opportunity.
That's why I actually
I guess I figured you would want him to make a remark in relation to. Yes, please, directly to what he said about statistics and the fact that the figures, there are no statistical figures. So, for example, we don't know what percentage of Ghanaian youth are involved in crime, whether that percentage includes a percentage that are employed, low class or middle class or high class. Do those things exist? And if they do, is it public information, and what's the national security doing to address those challenges? Major General Francis Eduamanfo is the National Security Coordinator, and he is on the panel. He will make some remarks on that.
First of all, I would like to commend Doctor for his expose and the details he has given us. And the boldness with which he is speaking. I like such people. I like to relate with such people. I like people who say it as is. And so, Doc, first of all, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
I personally have written a book, and I address this issue of terrorism and violent extremism and the factors which drive those two concepts. And so at least personally I have done some research on unemployment and its correlation with these crimes. I'm sure that if you have approached the IGP, he will be able to tell you and give you some statistics of crime as related to the youth. If you also contact the Director General of the CID, he will also be able to give you some statistics. So you cannot generalize and say that national security hasn't done any statistics or has no statistics or so,
I have
no
said
basis.
there is nothing.
You said there is nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And I have also given you areas where you can go and find out whether the statistics prevail or they do not.
Thank you.
Prevail. Thank you very much.
So there's a right to information law that you could access if you need any information from any government institution or government official. You do have the legal rights to ask for it, and that information will be delivered to you. So I'm sure that all the figures may be made available upon request, if I'm guessing right from what the good major is telling us. So we'll invite persons from in-house in the audience. If you have questions, comments or concerns, just raise your hand and then we'll pick a couple of them before we go. And also on our social media platforms, we know that you are watching, so we are trying to read as many of your comments as possible. Samuel Edem Dake says, Dr. Ishmael knows our system so well. Thanks for being a voice. Midnight says, your panelist himself said Ghanaians don't like doing research, which it seems he may not have done himself. Can he understand that government can only create a conducive environment, and it is up to individuals to tap into the various opportunities that have been created? So, for example, we talked about entrepreneurship and the fact that we're encouraging people to set up their own businesses, even though we acknowledge that there are challenges with regards to access to funding, and sometimes in certain specific areas, the skills possession may be in doubt. But can entrepreneurship solve all the problems? Because quite a number of panelists have mentioned that as a way to get out of unemployment. Because if government cannot employ everybody, people have to start businesses and start doing things for themselves. Maybe I'll pick your thoughts, and then if there are questions, I'll pick those as well from the audience.
Thank you very much. In fact, recently, last week or this week on TV, I had a confrontation with ACP Akwesi Ofori, and I talked about statistics not being available. I have done the research, and it is not there. They have a general statistics, but it is not segregated or stratified, as we say in statistics. Now, entrepreneurship is good because in every country, it is the middle class that actually grows a business. You take a country like Germany, it is the middle class that grows German business. In America, it's the same. But then there's also big businesses. But it all starts from the individual. Bill Gates, Microsoft, Steve Jobs, Apple. They start from individual people. So it doesn't solve all problems. It solves some of the problems because recently we heard from a former IGP, it is only in heaven that there is no crime. And so we will always have a certain percentage of criminal activity by the people. However, entrepreneurship creates opportunity for people to be happy. When people are happy, when people are achieving their best, when people are able to do the things that they want to do, functioning, capability, capacity, those people focus on the work that they are doing. They don't go robbing people. They do white-collar crime, money laundering, and the rest. But at the general level, they don't go into that. My institute, we study criminology, and we study disaster management and national security. These are not issues I take lightly. We deal with it every day, and we have students pursuing various dimensions of research into this area. So I think I am very much on top and on key with issues. Entrepreneurship is good, but it is not a panacea for all problems. No matter what we do, no matter how prosperous Ghana becomes, there will be crime. United States is a very prosperous country, and yet murder, homicide is very, very high. And there are reasons for that. And when you disaggregate the data, you will see that unemployment from the ghettos in Chicago, in other places where there are concentration of a lot of people who are unemployed, drug dealing, prostitution, and all of that is part of the reasons why. So nobody can tell you that entrepreneurship will solve the problems of Ghana. It won't. But it will make a lot of people happy. And when people are happy, they don't pursue mundane criminal activities.
Thank you, Dr. Norman. And a few of your comments here on our stream. Let me quickly reiterate that GBC is ably partnered to bring this program to you on screen by the support from the West Africa Center for Counter-Extremism, Hwasi. And so we are grateful to Hwasi, all the Hwasi representatives who are here. We are grateful to you. Here is a question for the National Security Chief from Mahama Alhaji Dauda, and he's saying on Facebook, General Sir, what are the border challenges confronting your office once Ghana was a safe haven for citizens of all African member states? That's from Alhaji Dauda. I don't know if he means Ghana was a safe haven or is a safe haven, but he says, what are the challenges confronting our borders?
The major challenge facing our country with regards to our border is human security. You have, one of the speakers was talking about, I think it's the Director General GBC, who was talking about
living in the margins.
Living in the margins. Living in the margins means that you are living in the border communities, And these are deprived areas. We must face the facts. Our border communities are deprived areas. And that is why we say that if you don't bring up the living conditions in these deprived areas, you make them prone to radicalization and recruitment into terrorism, extremism, and it is a fact. So there is always a correlation between unemployment, living in deprived areas, to crime, and crimes like terrorism if you are living in the border areas, and especially when at this time people are drifting from the Sahel region towards the coastal areas, including Ghana, then we have to take a second look at how we are dealing with our people living in the communities along the borders. And this is an issue of human security. And at national security, we are doing our best to marshal the resources, at least to mitigate some of the, problems we have along the borders. For example, we are thinking of using of the military engineers to help constructing feeder roads in these border areas. We are thinking of, organizing boreholes to go and provide potable water for the people living in those deprived areas. So the bottom line is that we are dealing with an issue of human security along our borders, in our border security areas.
Thank you, Major.
And it is not a one-day affair. It is a project that must be sustained for periods.
I'll pick your thoughts finally, Dr. Norman. Has COVID made us better off or worse off when it comes to employment opportunities and the challenges that COVID-19 presents?
Thank you very much. On February 18, 2020, a sister television station held a public forum on COVID. That was when COVID was becoming a big issue. And I stood up there and said the government's intervention program was a joke. And the government, people in the government took me to lunch. They really threatened me, my family, everything. But I wasn't afraid because I was speaking the truth. We were not prepared for COVID. We are still not there where we should be. Without the intervention of COVID, vaccine donation, without donations from other places, we would have lost a lot more people. That tells you that the health budget is being mismanaged. Otherwise, we shouldn't have gotten to that place. That our preparedness for pandemic was very weak. And yet there was posturing.
Employment opportunities for the youth?
On top of employment opportunities, because we are not prepared for even the disease, we couldn't look at the ramifications of the disease, i.e. jobs, employment opportunities, and so on and so forth. So if we were not prepared for even the disease, we couldn't have been prepared for the aftermath or the management of the disease. Therefore, what we are going through now is all part of the lack of preparedness of the central government of Ghana for pandemic, not only under this government, but under all the previous governments. They take disaster management as something that may happen, and therefore, if it may, why should we prepare? Businesses have no loans or access to loans because of COVID, because the banks would rather give loans to government than to give to businesses. All the businesses that were shut down during the shutdown, many of them have not recovered from the government's own statistics. So are we really in a position, post-COVID, we are still in COVID, are we really in a position to provide jobs for the youth? Not until we effectively deal with the ramifications of COVID, not until we are able to build all the hospitals that we promised that oftentimes we don't see. Not until the hospitals that have been neglected have been prepared to take care of the public health of the people. Not until we are able to offer happiness to the people, we will not be able to deal with the economic situation. Because when people are not happy, they will disrupt your happiness. If I have no life, I will make sure I mess up yours.
Thank you. Dr. Ishmael Norman, Executive Director, Institute for Security, Disaster and Emergency Studies. And some of your comments will be wrapping up very quickly. Fidel Ayichuru Sharon said, Dr. Norman said it all, what's entrepreneurship when a young enterprise cannot get credit or a loan in Ghana and pay an interest less than 5%? Then how can you grow a business to pay loans with high interest rate of 22%? Fidelis Awuteri from Navrongo. Nia J. Brainy says, simple, the leaders don't think of us at all. David Cooper, you're saying, excellent program. When it comes to youth unemployment, it takes a collective effort to deal with this challenge. And Nia J, you're saying again, someone said the youth are lazy. You don't agree. As a youth, I have to apply for work from GSS, work for 1 month as a field officer, no transportation, and after that wait for another month before paid. Ask what you eat so you can devote yourself and time to the work. Well, so many of your comments flooding in. I'm a bit overwhelmed, but thank you for sending those through to us. I think we have one question from a member of our audience. Please step forward to the microphone, and then if you can keep it brief and to the point for us, we would be grateful. You can tell us your name and which institution you are representing. A quick reminder that we are live on GBC News and GTV. GBC is bringing you this national dialogue on security in partnership with the West Africa Center for Counter-Extremism, and we are grateful for the partnership. We'll take your question or submission now.
Well, thank you very much. My name is Emmanuel Coten. I'm a security analyst and a former executive director of the Africa Center for Security and Counter-Terrorism. Madam Chairperson, Your Excellency, the U.S. Ambassador to Ghana, the National Security Coordinator, and my good friend, in fact, we are having a very interesting conversation, but I have a few remarks to make, and it has to do with the presentation by my good brother, Dr. Norman. I want to respectfully disagree with him with some of the remarks he made. Being with the Africa Center for Security and Counter-Terrorism in the last 6 years and looking at the activities and mode of terrorist recruitment in the Sahel and West Africa in particular, the salient things we get and come across is unemployment. So to that extent, I want to differ and a little bit disagree with him respectfully, because the conditions you mentioned that unemployment leads to, they are the same condition that leads to violent extremism. So if you look at the connection, it's more or less the same thing. There's one other thing I want to raise. I like your bluntness. That's the way I am. But you see, when you find yourself in a country, you have to be mindful about the cultural sentimentalities. You may have a good point to make, but the way and mood you make them, you don't get your points across. And at the end of the day, your good ideas are lost within the system. And I do appreciate where you had your training, and you agree with me that institutions in the United States of America had long been in place and working before the birth of the independence of Ghana and many African countries. We are only catching up, and we are trying to make amends and make sure that we do the best for our citizens. Government alone cannot provide for us. I'm always of the view that security is a shared responsibility. We, the citizens, has a role to play. When we leave everything on the head of government, you realize that we'll just be going front and back. We have to also look at the role we citizens have to play in this very important architecture. I have some few recommendations to make.
Quickly.
I think that the lack of political will had been the reason why we are where we are. I think if we have a national development policy backed by law, and under that national development policy, we have a youth development policy also backed by law, such that whichever government is in power, that policy is carried out. It will help the system. The problem in Africa, not only in Ghana, is that we don't continue with the good policies we lay after change of government. And my good friend James Agrega did make that point. And I think that we all as citizens should know that Rome was not built in a day. We are still trying to fashion out the processes that will work for us. And you mentioned something I agree with you. And I also want to recommend the same. we need to have a second look at our educational system. Since the birth of the Fourth Republican Constitution from 1992, when our donor partners brought the whole idea of leaving the old system of education and embracing the new system, when they themselves are not practicing the same educational system, it brings a certain posture. Because if you look at our educational system, because of the SS system, we produce and churn out graduates who are even half baked. If you put a pen and paper before a graduate to script an application letter before you, he or she might not be able to do it. But if you go to our development partners, they are not practicing the same educational system. And I feel that it is not it. We can go back. And it is a gradual process. The experimentation of the SS system is the ban of the youth unemployment we have, not only in Ghana, but across West Africa and Africa in general.
Right.
So in summing up,
okay,
I want to thank my good brother, the Executive Director of Hwasi, for the good job he has done partnering GBC to bring this important dialogue, and to thank all the panelists for the knowledge shared. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's appreciate him for those comments. I think there's two more. Okay, so I'll give each person one may approach the microphone, introduce yourself to it. Both of you can approach. Maintain the social distance, please, if you may. And tell us your name and quickly tell us what your comment or suggestion would be, and we'll try our best to be out of here in the next 5 or so minutes. Yes.
So I'm Abdurrahim Fattah, a staff of the West Africa Center for Counter-Extremism.
Okay.
I just have a remark to make.
Quick one.
Okay. So it is true that Ghana attained independence not so long ago, and people do refer to the U.S. saying that the U.S. had independence for about 200 years now, 2 centuries. But I want to say that I don't believe the U.S. people had a model. They were just experimenting. And so if we are so fortunate to have models, we have people who've been through it, it shouldn't be that difficult to just copy and emulate whatever that they're doing. People are using this thing of young democracy as an excuse, and they're saying that we're still trying to get there. Okay. But it looks like it's taking so long. Thank you.
Right. Thank you for your comments. Yes, we'll take the next one.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll be brief. My name is Edmund. I'm with the All Africa Students Union.
Okay, All Africa Students Union.
Yes, please. Number one is, how involved are we in planning our own security? We keep discussing the youth, and then we have older people sitting down telling us what our role should be in developing Ghana security. This is handed down to us, and we do not actively participate in this planning. And the engagement shouldn't be cosmetic, like we came to speak here and the youth was invited and that is it. The planning, how were we involved? We should be involved in all of that. The next thing is that this, whether it's unemployment or it is underemployment, the issue is that when opportunities are given selectively, people become frustrated. You might think people are getting employment, you might think people are getting unemployed. It depends on who you look at. When you make opportunities available, and the way of distributing these opportunities is not transparent, it's not based on merit, and it is based on who has an ankle where and all of that. Naturally, those who are left out of the loop, they might be worse qualified, the one you employed might be better qualified, but because of the lack of transparency, you lend yourself to a lot of allegations, and what we might be saying might not be true, but there is no transparency. So we are saying the wrong people have been employed, we are better and we were not employed. We find other means, we become frustrated, and we want to catch up, and we do other things. It might be crime, it might be violent extremism. We hope we get engaged, we hope we are satisfied, we hope we do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you for your submission. And another one, yes, a quick one.
Good afternoon, and I want to thank our panel for good work. This afternoon. My name is Edichum Sadiq. a formal naval rating and currently a security analyst myself. My suggestion will go to Major General. And I want to look at it from the security services angle in making sure that we are able to reduce the unemployment rate that we have, because I think that avenue can absorb more people. But currently, I think out of political promise and all of that, the 25 years of service, and I'm talking about the base, where it can absorb more, is raised to 30 years. And I want to suggest that could that years be reduced to probably 20 years? Because you will agree with me that after 7, 20, or after 7, 10 years, 15 years down the line in the military, I don't think you definitely have much to give in terms of growing in the ranks. So that whilst these people are gone, we can now absorb more and get the youth in there to be, the fresh energy to be able to fill that space. So I'm sure that conversation we need to look at it so that we do not give people too much time to stay in there 30 years. And 30 years, what are we going to do there at that point in time, so that we can absorb these young ones to come in, and then we can reduce the unemployment situation that we have. And I think the security...
Yes, there were other concerns with regards to recruitment into the security service.
Yes,
I'm glad that you've raised it.
Yes.
Okay. Sure.
How many years did you say?
I served for 10 years, and right from...
You went voluntarily?
Yes, I went voluntarily, and I feel at 7, 10 years with all the experiences that I have, given the opportunity outside, I could survive more. And I think that even I don't have retirement, those people will then have retirement that they can live on. And so when after 20 years they are gone, then we can bring in more people to also reduce the unemployment situation.
Okay, it used to be 18 years, you were gone.
Yeah.
Then we raised it to 20 years. Then there was so much agitation that, oh, they leave, they are still young people. You join at 18, 17 and a half to 23 years. If you do 20 years, it means you'll be 40 something, 41, 42. And that guy, 41-year-old man, is still, employable. So why do you want to rush him? And he has gained experience that the system needs. It is at that time he is well trained, he is well experienced, and you need his expertise to be in the system to be used.
Yeah,
so why do you want him to leave so early at 40? And it was raised to 25, and now you're saying it's 30. I'm not sure.
Yes. With up very well, then they will voluntarily, like I did, they will be able to also come and they will still survive, but we can get the opportunity to push them because their knowledge and experience can equally be tapped in other areas to move on the countries we are talking about.
Okay, I hear you.
And that's exactly what we are here to do. We do not think that we'll be able to exhaust every angle to this discussion, but we hope that we raise enough points which we can use as a leverage, as a base to have further and deeper conversations. I'm glad you met the coordinator personally. Maybe after the program, mindful of COVID protocols, you may engage him if he has the time to answer a few more of your questions. And I think that will bring it all to a close here. We've had quite an insightful conversation. You at home, you've also joined us on social media with your comments. We are grateful to you. We've been looking at youth unemployment and whether it's a threat to Ghana's security or an opportunity for change. We've had varying opinions. Dr. Norman thinks it is not necessarily youth employment that causes radicalism and exposes the youth to terrorism acts. Others disagree, and others have mentioned that unemployment creates an opportunity to offer better skill sets and opportunities for people to also make a livelihood for themselves. What are your thoughts? We know that the conversation will go beyond even after the cameras have closed. We've been grateful at GBC to have been partnered by the West Africa Center for Counter-Extremism to bring you this program, and the Executive Director, Mr. Mutaru Mukhtar, has been on this program. Thank you so much, sir. Madam Adelaide Yirigele, Senior Project Manager, and also Rahim Newton, who is also a Project Manager at the Hwasi. We are grateful to you. Let me, on behalf of management of GBC, express my sincere thanks to all of you gathered here today. We are grateful that God granted us this day to be able to have this conversation, and we know that it will lead to broader consultations going forward when it comes to finding solutions to the problem of youth unemployment. And we are grateful to each and every one of you for being on the studio floor. Our panel, very, very ably put together. The Minister for Youth and Sport has had to take leave of us, the Honorable Mustafa Yusuf. We've heard comments from Major General Francis Edu Amanfo, National Security Coordinator. Major General, thank you so much. We've had also the U.S. Ambassador to Ghana, Her Excellency Madam Stephanie Sullivan. Thank you, ma'am, for making yourself available for this conversation. And of course, it's been chaired by the Chairperson of the NCCE, Madam Josephine Nkrumah. And on that note, we'll invite Madam Josephine Nkrumah to give us her closing remarks, and then we'll begin to wrap.
Thank you very much. I think we can all agree that it's been a vibrant discussion. My hope is that the discussion continues beyond today's event. The issue of our national security, as we clearly see, must be looked at in a multi-dimensional way. There are many aspects to it, but beyond all of it, I think it is a human-centered issue. There are different things that each and every one of us can do to begin to raise vigilance in our country and tackle the issue of national security. Of course, we have divergent views here, but that is the essence of any dialogue. It is to share our views, it is to share our suggestions, and to share our recommendations and continue the conversation in a manner that is constructive, so that this does not become a talk shop. That is what I don't want to see happen. NCC will continue to play its role, and we would also invite any institution to collaborate with us as we deepen understanding on the issues of national security and its multidimensional effects. I think some of the key takeaways for me was the startling one was the professionalism of our security agencies, and the fact that there is ample evidence that suggests that at least 71% of violent extremists have had a negative encounter with a security agency. And so it should be a wake-up call for us as a country, especially in light of what happened not too long ago in I think Upper West region, where some of our security agencies were alleged to have behaved, dishonorably. So this really is a wake-up call for us, and I don't want us to trivialize this particular matter at all. Of course, our panelist has also shared with us the caution that we should not link directly or see unemployment as the direct link to violent extremism. Some of us disagree with that, but I think we must state that there is nonetheless a linkage. There is a ripple effect. And even in our domestic space in Ghana, there was ample evidence that when it came to political vigilantism, it really was the youth who were unemployed that were preyed upon. So sometimes we sit down and we think that the youth have become predators, when in fact the youth are rather those who are preyed upon than those higher up who continue to use them because of the perceived state of unemployment. Key takeaway for us: youth employment opportunity or threat. I would like to see this as a wake-up call to turn this into a great opportunity. The youth have the ability to transform this country. And even though we've expressed very negative sides of what is going on, I have also seen what some amazing young Ghanaians are doing, who have taken on challenging tasks and have begun to make strides, not only in Ghana but beyond. I've seen there's some youth who have taken full advantage of the Africa Free Trade Continental Agreement and are running with it. But the underlying problem with our youth, I sit at the head of an institution, and prior to that I've worked in other sectors. Our youth, our attitude to work, our work ethic, it is a problem. It is a problem. We should not run away from it. Somebody is talking about underemployment. My question, yes, there is underemployment. These same youth with the highest of degrees find themselves in developed countries doing menial jobs and executing it to perfection. So why is it that when you find yourself in this situation, you don't make the best of what you have and then find yourself moving high up? The Bible says, to him to whom much is given, much is desired. And if God can see you show faithfulness in the little you have, much more will be given unto you. Underlying thing, we must all wake up to the issues of national security. Be vigilant. Our research, NCC research, showed that a lot of us are not vigilant. And if you ask an average Ghanaian a very simple question, somebody passed here 2 minutes ago or 3 minutes ago, can you identify that person? What was he wearing? And we will not be able to. So we need to awaken that spirit of observance. And I think it starts from right in our early years. What are we teaching in schools? And whilst we are talking about these things, we must look at the root causes. And for me, one of the root causes of some of our challenges is the way we teach. And so there's opportunity staring us in many ways, but people don't take advantage of it because we have not been made to, taught to look out for opportunity. We have been spoon-fed in education. We are constantly spoon-fed. Lecturer is lecturing. If you don't answer the question according to his script, you fail. And those things don't allow an individual to begin to use your mind, to analyze, and to begin to think independently and do things for yourself. So yes, there are serious issues for us to undertake, but all is not lost. There is hope still for Ghana. I believe strongly that also with the kind of international cooperation and collaboration that we've seen, we'll continue to enjoy some of these interventions from governments like the US and other nations, and build that global security that we so yearn. Because even if Ghana is a peaceful nation, if there's fire all around us, there can never be true peace. So global peace and global security is a must, and it is a global citizenship responsibility. Thank you very much.
Great. Well, all too soon we come to the end of this panel discussion, but we are by no means at an end to seeking solutions to the threat of youth unemployment, as well as the opportunities that it presents us as a country. And we've been grateful to have all these people on our panel speak to us. Dr. Ishmael Norman, Executive Director, Institute for Security, Disaster and Emergency Studies. There's a lot of messages from you on our screen. After the live feed, I'll approach you so you have a look at some of them. I think you will need to see some of these messages for yourself. We are really grateful. We are grateful to the Ministry of Employment and Labor Relations for also sending a delegation to us. And GBC brought you this partnership in collaboration with the West Africa Center for Counter-Extremism. And we are grateful for their support. The Executive Director has been here with his team Sir, thank you so much, and we look forward to further collaborations to provide the platform for such important discussions to take place. And we are also honored that you watched us and you joined us for the conversations. Thank you for watching the streams on Facebook and social media. Catch us on the go. So those are the handles. Follow us and share our content. And as we begin to wrap up, I'll invite again Pastor Joshua to offer us the closing prayer.
Yes, we thank God for bringing us to this level, but before I inform God that we are closing, I want to use this opportunity to do small request or appeal for government to do two things for us as a country. That's number one, to resource NCCE enough to be able to move to churches, markets, schools, to tell them as young as they are in the schools, the courses that can help in future, so that we don't do non-sila courses and come out as graduates that cannot do anything. Number two is to work on our interest rates in Ghana for us. You can have brilliant idea to put up a small company or something. The money to start, the rent that you need, they are requesting the lowest or minimum is 2 years or 5 years to rent a shop. And when you go for loan, the interest rate, you are afraid, so you dare not start. So this is my appeal.
Now you can inform God we have closed.
Yeah, let's pray. Father God, in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, we thank you once again. We call upon you to send your Holy Spirit to lead us from the beginning. Yes, Lord, we appreciate you've led us throughout. I pray and commit the whole day, the whole year into your hands. Everybody that was present, I pray that may your Holy Spirit lead each and every individual to their various destinations. In the name of Jesus Christ we pray. Amen.
Thank you so much, and this is the end of the program. Thanks for watching us from across the country and beyond, across our social media handles. Thank you once again, Hwasi, and thank you for making this possible. GBC is grateful. Our panel members, thank you for coming, and we'll just walk straight down the path that has been created for you. We'll take a group photo on that side, and then you may want to engage some of the members of the audience, bearing in mind the COVID-19 protocols. Kindly bear with us because there are protocols in place to make sure that we keep each other safe. Thank you to all of you watching us, and we are grateful for your company.